Hey everyone, this is Phenomena from Merlin Sports, and with me today to break down the NFC West preview is D-Dog. And D-Dog, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, my friend. It's getting to the end of this preview stuff. The last division is going to be exciting, and it's probably the most interesting division, I'd say.
And we're going in the last week of preseason, which means we are 2 weeks away from the regular season upon us for NFL. And today, actually, we hit our last division in our series of preview shows. So we're going to take a look at the NFC West, and you mentioned it's going to be a very competitive division. Here's how it finished last year. The LA Rams finished with a 10-7 record, and they actually were tied with Seattle at 10-7 for first place. But the Rams held the tiebreaker, and only they went to the playoffs from this division last year. So even though Seattle had an identical record, they didn't even make the playoffs. Arizona finished third at 8-9, the Arizona Cardinals, and San Francisco 49ers in a disappointing season finished fourth at 6-11. Let's start with those San Fran 49ers, and I mean there were several reasons why they had a subpar year to their standards, and I think it starts with Christian McCaffrey getting hurt and really affecting that's a big loss for any team, and when you have Christian McCaffrey on your team, your focal point. That's the focal point of your offense, and so that took a hit. A lot of other injuries, and there was more turmoil in San Fran last year, and as a result, they had a subpar season and they fell in the standings. They plummeted. It looks like McCaffrey is back and he's healthy after, sitting out for all that time with injury. He's a couple years older, and in football, aging some of the stars, some positions are easier than others to age at. Running back is not one of those ones where you age unless you're an Adrian Peterson or one of those guys, but those guys are rare. So he's coming back off an injury. He's getting now another year older, but it still stands the reason that he should have a good year. And he's a dual threat within the receiving game. So McCaffrey and Garendo as their running backs. Of course, they got they one of the rare teams that utilize a proper fullback as well. And Brock Purdy, after signing a big extension, is coming back for quarterback, and Mac Jones backing him up. They got some interesting receivers, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, who, we're going to see a full year of him. Of course, his year last year was it didn't start too well. He got in a gun incident. Brandon Ayuk is also in the receiving room here, so they got a little bit of talent at receiver and George Kittle at tight end. One of the best tight ends in the game for sure. Probably the best blocking tight end and one of the best overall tight end. Their defense anchored by Fred Warner. And he is a pretty good veteran, and their defense should be half decent. And I think that they'll have a bounce back year. Of course, head coach Kyle Shanahan, he's got a firm control of the offense and the style this team plays. And they bring back Robert Saleh as defensive coordinator. And when he gets the focus just on defense, he's actually pretty good. He's a pretty good coach, a defensive coach. So San Fran, I see improving from that 6-11 year. Will it be enough to make the playoffs? I just don't know because it's a very competitive division. I'm gonna say they get to 8-9. Oh, it wouldn't surprise me if even they finish 9-8. So I think they'll be buzzing around 500 for me. How are you thinking about the San Fran 49ers, D-Dot?
Yeah, I mean, last year I think was a really tough year. They had a lot of injuries. They never really got settled. Uh, uh, it was uh, Brock Purdy's second year as the starting quarterback, but he was now the main guy, and They just never really they never really seemed to gel. They had big plans going for them with Samuel and McCaffrey, but both those guys were always kind of injured and never really on the field together. This year, I think Debo's a big loss. One of the things that Cal Shanahan was able to do even before he had Christian McCaffrey was move Debo Samuel around, get him into plays into space where he could really create a lot of havoc. And they traded him to Washington, so they lost that, and they haven't replaced him with anybody in particular. I mean, yeah, you did mention some of the receivers they still have, and of course, obviously Christian McCaffrey coming back, but um, you're right. Running back isn't kind to people as they get older. Still think he's going to have a very good year. I mean, he could still very much have an MVP type season, but um, he has always been bagged up. So his durability has always been questioned, even when he was with Carolina. So we'll see how he goes in terms of this year. Um, Greg Kittle's always solid. They brought in Luke Farrell as a second tight end for them. So yeah, I agree with you that they'll be better. How much better? Uh, I don't know. Two wins might be stretching a little bit. This is a division that's very up in the air. Any one of the four teams could actually win it. I don't like San Francisco to win it. They do have a solid defense. They do return Nick Bosa, who's a very strong defensive end. You mentioned Fred Warner, but uh, th- uh, they're gonna battle, and I think who they battle with is the team that won a division last year in the Rams because they have question marks as well. So I'll say San Francisco. They battle out for third and fourth in the division between the the um, the Rams and themselves. Uh,
Okay.
right? Won't offer I won't offer a wager, but I think the 8 wins is a high ceiling. Uh, they're probably 6 to 7 wins still. I don't think they're more than 8 though, but
Okay, so
8 is
you're
probably their
thinking
ceiling.
similar season to last season, record
Yep,
wise.
yep, yep.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay,
I
yeah.
uh, yeah, I think the loss to Debo Samuel is gonna really impact them, right? I
It,
mean,
yeah,
the,
and
the,
I forgot to mention that Brendan Ayuk is actually injured to start the year. He's coming off knee injuries from last year, so I think he's still recovering. So he's not expected to start the season, and he's going to join them in progress. So that's a blow to that list of receivers. Okay, well, with that, let's turn to the Arizona Cardinals, who finished third in the division last year, and some of the players they brought in, they bring in Jacoby Brissett to back up um, Kyler Murray, to bring in defensive end Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell. Looks like they have some nice additions on defense that they've brought in. They didn't lose that many players, and they emphasize defense in the draft. Their first few picks are all on defense, defensive tackle, cornerbacks, defensive end, linebackers. So they're prioritizing defense to bring them, maybe get them over the hump so that they can make a run for the playoffs. And Kyler Murray there's no doubt he's a talented quarterback. He's a little undersized, but he's good at running out of the pocket and kind of eluding the pass rush when he needs to. There's times where he's shown flashes in his career, and then there's times where he just looks average, and a lot of those times he was turning the ball over. So at Arizona, I guess they're gonna ride out um, the duration of Murray's contract before they have to make a decision. So they're going to take a run with building this program with Murray at the quarterback. And James Conner, he had a good year last year in Arizona, and he's probably going to have another good year. Of course, Marvin Harrison Jr., the top wide receiver from last year's draft, he'll be going into his second year, and he is likely to get better too. Trey McBride at tight end. So they have some weapons here, and the fact that they, prioritized defense looks like they're trying to create a well-rounded team here, and they are going to be competitive. I think they're going to improve on last year. Last year they were 8 and 9. I'm going to say that they're 9 and 8 this year, which is going to keep them in the wild card battle all the year. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually grab a wild card um, this season, just because I do think they are competitive, and they also have a half decent schedule. I see Carolina on the schedule, New Orleans, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Jacksonville. So they do have 5 or 6 games that they have a legitimate shot of winning. So what do you think about Arizona's chances this season?
Yeah, so talking about the Arizona, I looked at the division last year, and I'm going to go a little bit bold here. And it, with the question marks of a lot of the Rams and San Francisco, based on what's happened with their players, losing some guys, injuries, stuff like that. Uh, Arizona, I think, is a team that's going to sneak up on some people. Um, I like the young talent they got, especially at receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. He is a big play guy. It was a rookie. He had a solid rookie season. He wasn't great, but he wasn't entirely disappointing. Kyler Murray, he actually played much of the season last year. He was pretty much healthy for the whole season. And last year he was recovering from an ACL. And getting the second year after the ACL, I think will get him more comfortable, more confident. This is a team. I mean, they scored a lot of points last year. They scored the most points in the division last year. Their defense was okay, but they did invest a lot in the draft. I'm big on a couple of guys. We'll see how they go, but they drafted Walter Nolan in the first round. They drafted Will Johnson in the third round. Um, those two guys, they were two big time players in college, so they'll help their defense. Will's a top notch corner. His challenge is remaining healthy. Walter Nolan is his challenge is to live up to the hype. Walter Nolan was the top high school player 3 years ago. Um, he went to Texas A&M. Didn't really have bold numbers at Texas A&M. He went to Mississippi for a year, but he's coming into, like, he had a good year last year, and he's coming into the NFL with a pretty much quite a bit of hype for a defensive tackle. So I think they'll be better on defense. Uh, Probably about the same. A little bit more explosive offensively, especially with Murray feeling better. He is a guy that can get out of the pocket. You're right, he is a little small, so that's always a concern. He's got to learn to not take as much hits. Especially a smaller guy, if you take too many hits, you're not like to see the whole season. So he's pretty. I think he'll be okay. And I got Arizona sneaking up and surprising people, and I have them winning this division.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised Arizona has a good year this year. And that's interesting. I think like with and we're going to talk about the Rams coming up with injuries, in questions around Matthew Stafford's health. I think this division is pretty wide open and with some good
It,
teams.
yeah,
And
well, and that's why I'm picking bold here and putting them in a division. I just kind of like they're a team that's kind of hung around even when they were struggling, and they're building back up their talent base and their team, and this division is sort of ripe to be taken, right? I mean that's the way I would say. You have some older teams trying to stay relevant, and you have some younger teams coming up.
Uh, Okay, let's talk about one of those teams that stands to be in the hunt, the Seattle Seahawks, who finished last year 10-7 in second place. Now they had a really busy offseason. Um, of course, leaving Seattle was quarterback Geno Smith, wide receiver DK Metcalf, wide receiver Tyler Lockett, amongst other players. But those are the big names, and all on offense. So big changes, and coming into Seattle, they bring in Sam Darnold, who cashes in on his comeback season with Minnesota. Drew Lock will be backing him up. They bring in Cooper Cup now, to sort of offset the loss of DK Metcalf, and they also bring in Marquez Valdez Scantling, another wide receiver. But I think there's no question the wide receivers going out the door, Metcalf and Lockett, are more talented than the ones coming in as their replacement. But they also pick up defensive end Demarcus Lawrence and Shaquille Griffin and Shaq Griffin in the secondary. So they're picking up some pretty good players, especially a couple of really good defenders. Now, the question is Sam Darnold, was that last year just an aberration, or can he do this with another team? And um he's not going to have the quality at wide receiver that he did at Minnesota. And so I think the offense, it won't be as good. This Seattle offense will not be as good as last year's Seattle offense, and won't be as good as Minnesota's offense. So this is going to be a bit of an adjustment for Sam Darnold, and I think it's gonna show us a lot. If last season was a beneficiary of circumstances, being in a good situation in Minnesota, or this is who Sam Darnold is. He's an above average quarterback that can lead a team to the playoffs. And um, I think he needs to show that again before I decide personally. So I think it's going to be a tougher year in Seattle, just because of the talent going out at offense, and I don't think the offensive line is as good as Darnold had it in Minnesota as well. They although they brought in those pretty good veteran defenders, which should make their defense, I think, play better than last year. I'm looking at their schedule. They play some tough teams. They'll play Pittsburgh. They'll play Tampa Bay, Houston, Washington, Minnesota. So Darnold will get to play his old team, Atlanta. And of course, the teams in their division, a pretty competitive division, it stands to reason. So I'm picking Seattle to take a step down. So I'm going to put them at 8-9. So go down by a couple games, just for some of the reasons that I mentioned. So how does Seattle look for you? How do you foresee their season shaping up?
Well, Seattle's is an interesting team. They don't have as much question marks in terms of what they've. I know they lost a lot in the receiving core, and bringing Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup was Matthew Stafford's safety blanket with the Rams, but over time he kind of, they kind of figured he wore out his welcome there, and he wasn't going to be as valuable. So obviously they let him go. You're right. You don't know how the reaction of what Darnold's going to have. Losing DJ Metcalf and uh, Tyler Lockett
Lockett.
are yeah are huge losses on the outside. They also lost George Fant, offensive tackle. So that, I mean, your offensive lineman is always important. Last year, Mike McDonald was a rookie coach, and he had a great year. Um, unbelievable year as a rookie coach. So it's going to be interesting to see his second year, the progression. He's a defensive guy, so you talk about we don't know how Darnold's gonna do as going from Minnesota where Kevin O'Connell is an offensive guy, right? He's the Sean McVay disciple, and now you're moving to a guy who's a defensive guy. So it'll be critical to see if that was a product of the environment he was in. I'm not gonna Cooper Cup was one of the top receivers, and it's probably still up there in terms of top receivers. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State, he's got some great hands, and he runs good routes. He's a very good receiver. He had a great second year last year, and so he's gonna be you know he's gonna be okay, Darnold, in terms of his weapons. His running back room, if Kenneth Walker can stay healthy, then they're going to be better because Zach Charbonnet, he's had a great actually preseason. He's a very good running back and he's explosive. Um, so they have a pretty good 1-2 tandem, and if they're able to run the ball, establish the run, that takes the pressure off Darnold. Defensively, I think they're going to be fine because McDonald's a defensive guy. He comes from the Baltimore Ravens tree of defensive coordinators, so he's still he's a very good defensive coach. Um, yeah, I sort of lean to think that Darnold's success last year was due to Kevin O'Connell. Um, Now, having said that, Geno Smith wasn't asked to be a superstar either. So if he can do a decent Geno Smith rendition, I think their team is going to compete for the division title with Arizona. I did pick Arizona. So I'm going to say that the Seattle, they'll take a little bit of a step back, but I think I'd say they'll go 9-8 this year and finish second in the division.
Okay. Well, that leaves us with one team left, and that's the Los Angeles Rams, who won the division with a 10-7 record last year. They were in good shape, I think, coming in the preseason, but Matthew Stafford is hobbling, and there's I think it's a back issue, which is, when you're a quarterback in your mid to late 30s, that's not what you want to hear. And there is question about whether he's going to be ready for week one. And as it stands now, with about a week and a half till regular season, it's an unknown right now. They're not Rams are kind of trying to downplay it, but there's some reports there that he's ailing with that bad back. So that kind of puts a damper, because they did add Devontae Adams, one of the best free agent wide receivers in the offseason. They let Cooper Cup go, and I think that it is just more of Cooper Cup getting battling the injury bug, being more injury prone. So they basically tried to upgrade at wide receiver by bringing in Devontae, who doesn't have the injury concerns, and he is still a quality receiver. He even had a good year when he joined, not a good situation with the Jets, but he ended up having a decent year numbers wise. So he comes in and joins an offense that, already have Puka Nakua at wide receiver. So that's a 1-2 punch, has got a lot of potential for explosiveness. They're both capable of getting over 1,000 yards. And of course, Kyron Williams, running back, he had a big year last year, and there's no reason why he shouldn't have a big year this year. So maybe we'll see more out of Blake Corum this year, their backup running back. Um, so the running back position looks pretty solid in LA. And of course, Matthew Stafford. I mean, look down the depth chart. Jimmy Garoppolo is his backup. And we've all seen Jimmy Garoppolo in several teams, and he's a game manager, so if he comes in, he could run this offense. He will not be able to win games for you, but he won't be able to lose. He won't lose many, unless it's some of the better teams that will kind of force them into mistakes. But for the average teams and the non-elite teams, Jimmy Garoppolo can get some wins and kind of stabilize. So Rams should have a good year. They have a pretty good defense as well, and they gave the Eagles all they could handle in last year's playoffs. It's probably that I think that was the toughest game for the Eagles on their way to their Super Bowl victory was against the Rams. So Rams, um, if they can get Stafford back and he's able to be healthy for most of the year going into the playoffs, the Rams could be dangerous um, if they stay healthy. However, I'm really worried about Matthew Stafford back and his age, and he's not the most nimble quarterback to begin with. So uh, that really affects your mobility, and you're already a pocket passer. So um, I'm going to say the Rams do not win the division, and they're going to slide as well. And I think it's going to be a battle between Arizona, the Rams, and Seattle to win the division. I see the Rams probably around the 9-8 mark, and of course it like I was saying, it depends on the health of Matthew Stafford. I see them in the dogfight to win the division, and I'm not sure that they're going to win the division. So, what are you thinking about the Rams?
Yeah, and, you're 100% right that they gave Philadelphia their toughest battle last year, uh, except for a couple of incredible runs by Saquon Barkley. The Rams could have went on to challenge Kansas City in the Super Bowl. They were that good last year, but everything for me with the Rams starts with the guy you've been talking about, Matthew Stafford. He's got a back injury. People know it's a back injury. Matthew, when he was in Detroit, he was always battling back and neck issues as well. Took a lot of hits in Detroit, and so coming here, if he's 100% healthy or even 95% healthy, he's the best quarterback in this division, hands down. There, no one even close, right? But he's not 100%. And going into the season, he's not 100%. You start the season, you start playing, you're gonna get hit, right? There's no red jersey on during the game, during practice and fall camp. They got a red jersey on, so they're not going to get hit. So I just don't know he can make it through the whole season. And if he doesn't, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo. It seems like just yesterday he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Tom Brady in New England. Um, and then they had that thing come up, but the Belichick Brady sort of fighting, and then eventually Jimmy got traded. And I know Belichick probably wasn't too happy about it. Tommy was more happy about it than Belichick was. But Garoppolo has never been able to establish himself in the NFL. So even if he comes in, the other thing for him too, we talk about Stafford's injury, he's just as much injury prone. If Stafford's healthy, this is a very good offensive team. It's a very good football team. I would trade Devontae Adams for Cooper Kupp any day of the week and twice on Sundays. Devontae's a better player. Cooper is more of a he, he's one of those guys who knows how to get himself open. He makes catches, he makes plays, he's got great hands, but he's not flashy. He's not really the big play guy like a Devontae Adams.
No, but it's
Uh,
at this point in their career, you'll take Devontae. Don't forget Cooper won the Triple Crown as wide receiver. So when he's at his prime, he was the top receiver in the league
oh yeah, no, no,
for at least that year.
I'm not
It's
discount.
it's it's
I'm not.
it's where they are in their careers that you take Devontae all day. I agree. So
Yeah.
so how you see the Rams? Where do they finish?
So I see the Rams. I see them battling San Francisco for that fourth place because there's so much question marks surrounding Matthew Stafford. and I don't see them being able to overcome that if he's injured. If he's 100% healthy, they run away with this division because they're that much better. They have a very good defense. They got great running back. They got depth at running back. They have good wide receivers. They have a solid tight end in Tyler Higbee. But that huge question mark is Matthew Stafford, and I just don't think he's gonna be healthy enough. He's 37 years old. It's not like he's 27, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I, I,
Okay.
I got to
So
step him back. I got to step him
who
back.
do you have in the division? Who's
So
going to finish where?
I got Arizona winning the division. I got Seattle finishing second. I'm gonna pick the Rams to finish third, and I'm gonna have the 49ers finish fourth.
Okay, and then who's making the playoffs out of those
I think
teams?
only one team makes the playoffs out of this,
The
right?
division winner.
I think
Okay,
one team, and I think it's going to be Arizona.
interesting. Okay, I like I've been back and forth, and I think the Rams are going to pull it out. They're barely good. They're just barely going to win the division, and I see Arizona, yeah, taking that step up, finishing second, Seattle third, and San Fran fourth. So, and only the division winner will make the playoffs, the Rams. But I wouldn't be surprised Arizona actually wins the division. Uh,
Any one of these four teams going to win this division.
it's true.
Let's not forget that
Yeah.
this division is whereas the AFC North and the NFC North are considered the higher echelon teams. This division, anybody can win it because there's just so many factors and each team has a path to it. I'm just thinking the least amount of question marks to me is Arizona. So their team, I think, will just rise up.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Now that we've looked at each division and kind of gave our breakdown and prediction, let's talk about who is going to come out of the AFC and the NFC, and who we think's going to win the Super Bowl this year. So why don't you start with the NFC? Who do you think's coming out of the NFC?
Well, I got the Washington Detroit in the conference finals this year, based on the teams I see coming out of the NFC in terms of getting to the playoffs and stuff. Uh, I have the Washington Detroit, and I have Detroit winning the NFC.
Well, I like Detroit and the Eagles to be fighting it out. I like Green Bay as well, but I'm going to say that Detroit comes out of the NFC. I just that losing Aiden Hutchinson, I think they made it come out of the NFC last year. So I'm going to say it's between Detroit and Philly in the conference final, and I like Detroit to come out on top this round. So now that brings us to the AFC. How about I'll start it with the AFC.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, well, we have our usual suspects that we know are gonna threaten to come out of the AFC, I'm gonna go with Baltimore to come out to finally break through and Lamar have some success in the playoffs. And I like Baltimore to come out of the AFC. I think their biggest opposition, I want to say Kansas City, because roster wise, Kansas City is just so good. I know Buffalo is the other powerhouse in AFC. Um, and it's really who has home field advantage is going to have the upper hand. So I'm going to say Baltimore over Buffalo to get to the AFC, and Baltimore will represent the AFC. So I have Baltimore Detroit final. Who you got coming out of AFC?
That's a good pick there. Yeah, you're right. There's the usual suspects. Buffalo, Baltimore, and KC have been, it's sort of owned this sort of conference for the last few years. I like Baltimore and KC to meet in the conference finals myself. I agree with you there. I think Buffalo will run into the team has always given them a little bit of problems, and then KC or Baltimore will handle them. That is Cincinnati. But I like Baltimore coming out this year and getting out of the AFC. So I also have a Baltimore Detroit Super Bowl. With ultimately, I have Baltimore winning the Super Bowl. Uh, it takes a lot to get there, but I think Lamar will finally get over the hump and win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with Detroit to win the Super Bowl over Baltimore. So it's funny we have the same matchup, but I'm gonna choose Detroit. I just think getting playing with fire and getting burned in the last couple of years, I think finally they're gonna break through and they're gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be different. It's gonna be a different Super Bowl if Baltimore and Detroit gets there. I mean, I know Baltimore's been there recently, and John Harbaugh has won a Super Bowl, and Detroit's never been to the Super Bowl, so it'd be good to see a team like Detroit that's never been there. Uh, it, it'd be amazing to see a first time winner, but yeah, I don't know. There's something about winning a Super Bowl is something. Not every team can get there and win it.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll check back
All right.
later in the season, see how
Yeah,
our picks did. And
exactly.
yeah, okay. Thanks for breaking it down, and looking forward to the start of the year. Thanks,
All
D
right,
Doc.
man. No problem. Thank you. You have a good one.